Hey guys, it's Tanya, and I want to talk to you a little bit about one of my favorite vacation spots. I will give you a few clues. First clue, second clue, hola, it's Mexico. Yes, I love Mexico. I love the people, the food. It's generally not expensive, and it's not a far flight to get there. In this video, I will go over whether or not you should stay at an all-inclusive, how you can save money, some tour ideas, and some other helpful information. So the first time I ever went was in October of 2005 during Hurricane Wilma. Yes. However, we were staying on the West Coast in Cabo San Lucas, which is all the way at the southern tip of the Baja Peninsula, which is directly south of California. We had amazing weather, no rain, no humidity. And it's kind of like where the mountains meet the sea. I'll show you some pictures, although they are 15 years old and they were taken with a disposable camera, but I think you can get the idea. So when you're on a boat, you will see beautiful mountains in the water, rocks and arches, and sea lions just hanging out. And this little beach right here you can only get to if it's low tide. So it's pretty cool though once the tide goes out and you see the sand and then it comes back in and it's all water. But it's a really nice ride on the boat or the jet ski. If you don't like boats, you can see, I'll show you again, from the beach. This is early in the morning, so the horses are taking a siesta. But you can still see, you know, the rocks in the water and the cruise ships. And if you notice, the water's kind of dark. It's not really like an aqua color, and the sand is a little bit on the darker side too. So it definitely has like that California feel. It's not quite as tropical as, say, Cancun would be. There's not really a lot of palm trees either because it is like a desert. So you're sitting on your beach chair hanging out and you look and there's like a cactus just chilling on the beach. I remember when I first saw that, I was like, that's so strange. But it really is that Baja California feel, if you can imagine it. So while this is going on, Hurricane Wilma is destroying Cancun. It was really bad. A lot of the hotels had to completely rebuild and they spent a lot of money doing it. So what happened was the prices went up, and this weeded out a lot of the spring break crowd. So all that crazy spring break stuff that was going on years ago, it's really nothing like that at all. There's a lot of families, there's a lot of really high-end resorts, and there's people from Europe traveling. All ages can enjoy this area. However, it's still a country that you want to make sure where you're going and what you're doing, and you want to be aware of your surroundings. So if you want to stay at an all-inclusive, I highly recommend staying in an area called Playa Car, which I'll show you on the map. So Cancun is at the very north of the peninsula, and Playa del Carmen is south, and then Tulum is all the way at the bottom. And Riviera Maya is kind of like in between it all. It's considered the coastline. And then Cozumel is right off the coast. So you can see all the way up here is Cancun. And it's one road that goes all the way down. So everything that you want to do is pretty much on this one road. And then this is Cozumel right here. And if you keep going all the way down, you'll get to Tulum. And Playa del Carmen is here, and Playa Car is a gated community that they created that you have to have access to in order to get in. So when you're on the beach hanging out, you don't have to worry about somebody trying to sell you something or being annoyed constantly, because you will find that in certain parts, and in certain islands it's worse than others. I didn't notice that so much in Cancun, but I have heard that Playa del Carmen is pretty known for that. So stay in Playa Car because you can walk around. There's a bunch of resorts in there. You can walk around no problem, and the beaches are private. However, don't get stuck on the idea that you have to stay at an all-inclusive. You do not have to stay at an all-inclusive. Yes, it's a very popular thing to do because people think their drinks, their food, everything is included. But I'm telling you, you probably would be better off staying at a really nice 5-star resort. Maybe one that would be normally out of your budget, like a Ritz-Carlton, a JW Marriott, a Westin, might be out of your budget normally, but in Mexico, it's a bargain. So don't worry about the fact that it's not all inclusive because the food is so cheap in Mexico. Whatever you want to eat, quesadillas, burgers, they just bill you, they bring you the food, and it's like diner prices. It's so cheap. So don't get stuck on that whole idea because a lot of these all-inclusives are so gigantic. So you wake up in the morning, if you want to have breakfast, you can forget about getting a beach chair. You have to choose between breakfast and a beach chair. So you go get a banana, you go put your towels on the beach chair, and then maybe you walk around a little bit, and then you jump in the hot tub, and then you say, oh, I forgot my sunglasses. So you go all the way back to your room, and it's like a 35-minute loop to go all the way back up, to come all the way back down, and you still haven't eaten breakfast. And some resorts, they don't even let you put your towels there for too long if you're not there. So that's another thing to think about. So they're so gigantic, and most of these rooms and these all-inclusives have no view. You're literally looking at bushes. So you might say, well, I'm not going to be in my room that much. But sometimes you just want to relax in the room. So I recommend staying at the Westin Laguna Mar in Cancun. It is the nicest resort I have ever been to. And I'll show you some pictures. They designed it so that when you're in the lobby, you feel like you're outside. Everything is glass, and all the colors are like beige, brown, blue, really beautiful. And they have fountains outside, so when you walk out of the glass doors, you see these fountains. Here's stepping stones going across. There's a pool, there's another pool, and there's the ocean. The pool is literally on the sand. So when you're in the pool, you're just like floating around and you don't have to worry about the sand, the seaweed, the tides, nothing. You're just relaxing. And that is something that most resorts don't have. A lot of resorts have their pool set closer in to the hotel so you can't see the ocean at all. Look at the resort map when you're looking and see, oh, where's the pool? How far away is the lobby from the pool to the beach? This is a huge factor in whether or not you're going to enjoy your vacation. So another thing is spend the money on a view. Have a nice view in your room because when you're out going on tours, when you've been at the beach all day and it starts raining or it's really hot out and you need a break, just go back to your room and sit on the balcony and look out. And it is like a refuge. It's a place you can come back and enjoy. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make is they're trying to save money, so they don't want to spend the money on the view. Find a hotel that every room has a view. Or skip the all-inclusive and just stay at a really nice resort with a view. So the Westin Laguna Mar has glass balconies. So when you're sitting on them, there is nothing blocking you. This was an overcast day. We were kind of tired of the sun. The clouds started rolling in, and this is what you're looking at from your room. So you're relaxing, you have a snack, you have a cup of coffee, you want to watch the sunset, the sunrise, whatever you want to do, and you still see an amazing view. And even at night, a lot of resorts, what they do is they light up the pool so you can see, you know, something nice while you're just relaxing. And another thing is, when you are going on these tours, they pick you up really early in the morning. You don't even have time to like have an apple or anything. You get on the bus and then they feed you while you're on the tour. So you're not even at the resort, but you're paying an all-inclusive rate. So think about that too. And I also want to show you this pool from the Westin is the nicest pool I've ever seen. It's gigantic. It never feels overcrowded at all. So you're in this pool and you can see the waves crashing. You can hear the ocean. You can see the ocean and you never feel like there's a bunch of people like all over you, you know? So I highly recommend this resort. But there are plenty of others. Look for a really nice 4 or 5 star resort in the Cancun area. But if you're really stuck on all-inclusive, then definitely stay in Playa Car. That would be the next best choice. So some things that you can do when you're in Cancun are my favorite, Xcaret. It looks like this. Xcaret. Everything is X. So there's also like Xel-Há, X, but it's pronounced Xel-Há. And then there's Explore, which is cave diving and four-wheeling. And then there's Explore Fuego, which they have you zip lining through like a wall of fire. It's absolutely nuts. And then there's this other X thing where they take you on a boat in a river at night, and there's a long table in the middle, and you just eat, and they give you drinks, and they sing to you, and you just float around the river. That's another really nice thing you can do to kind of break up the night, because some of the resorts do really lack that night entertainment. So if you want, that's another option. However, Xcaret is kind of like a hub that no matter what tour you want to go on, they usually stop at Xcaret. You get off the bus and then they bring you to another bus. So if you want to go to the Mayan ruins, they tell you to go to that bus. If you want to go to Xel-Há, they tell you to go to this bus. And everything is so organized. Everyone's wearing uniforms, they have clipboards, they give you water and snacks. Everything is so clean. So you never feel at any moment like you're in somewhere that you don't want to be. So Xcaret is a nature park that they built in Playa del Carmen, where they have wildlife, they have snorkeling, swimming with the dolphins, snuba, speedboats, all-inclusive lunch. If you want breakfast, you have to pay a little bit extra. And some of these excursions are extra money, like the dolphins and the speedboat, but a lot of it is included. You just have to read what's in the admission. And they even have an aviary that they built that I wasn't even gonna go in. I'm not really a bird person, but I'm telling you, it was amazing. There was birds flying everywhere with waterfalls coming down. I'm like, this is a jungle. And you're walking underneath the waterfalls, like stepping stones going over. So nice. And then you can hang out at the very back of the property on the open ocean. They have palm trees with hammocks all over the place. You could just relax. They even have these tide pools that you can swim in, which I'll show you. So this is the water coming up here. All this is natural tide pools that you can swim in. This is where the hammock area is. And then they have a restaurant right there that you can eat at. You can choose whichever restaurant you want to go to. However, I recommend going back to the front of the property because there's this one restaurant that has a horse exhibition. 6 p.m., 20 minutes, these horses come out with flags and guys in sombreros, and you can sit there and eat. And then while you're eating, this man just comes up to you, like as if it's totally normal. And he starts singing, and he has a guitar in his hand. And you're just eating your dinner while this man is singing to you. And then a mariachi band comes out. And they're singing and they're dancing, and then all of a sudden, this guy comes back again. And he literally looked exactly like this. It was such an experience. And then it gets better. 7 o'clock rolls around, and they have this nighttime extravaganza. Don't skip it. I know people that have gone and have skipped it because it is a long day. If you can go back the next day, it is absolutely worth it. 2 hours long, 300 artists come out with lassos, synchronized to music, horses running around. They play soccer with like fireballs, they sing, and they bring you through the whole history of Mexico. A stunning performance. And I'm generally not a show person, but it was such an amazing show. So don't skip that. And then let's say now you've done this the whole day, you could even break that up into 3 days. Because another cool thing about Xcaret is you can swim in an underground river. They give you a life jacket and flippers, and you literally float in the underground rivers. Have you ever done that? It's amazing. So there's so much to do there and see. And then let's say the next day you could just hang out at your resort if you want and go in the pool, go to the beach, relax. And then Xel-Há, which I said before, Xel-Há, there's a little seashell in the middle of the logo. That is a place that you can snorkel in a protected reef area. Like they actually fenced it off under the water, so you don't have to worry about marine life or anything crazy coming in there. And it's all-inclusive lunch. Everything is clean. They give you individually wrapped snorkels so that it's yours to take home. I was so impressed with the way they organized this place, because when we went to Cozumel, which by the way, don't go to Cozumel. There is nothing to see in Cozumel. We went on a cruise, and when we got off the cruise, they brought us to this parking lot where we had to get our snorkel gear, and it was in buckets. And I said, how do you clean these? And they said, with bleach. And I said, oh no. Then we go in this Jeep that was stick shift, which we can't drive. So we had to get in the back of another couple's Jeep that didn't speak English, no seatbelts, open air Jeep. We're driving around Cozumel, and again, there is nothing to see there. And they bring us to a tequila farm, which I didn't even know was part of the tour. So let me just show you. Here is the tequila farm. So we got this guy over here giving us a whole lecture about all the different types of tequila. So the people that are driving us, I don't really know what their deal is, but now I got to get in the car with these people and drive around Mexico with no seatbelts. I finally found the seatbelt, like all the way underneath the seat. The only really cool thing about Cozumel I felt was we kind of ran into this random pan flute player on the sidewalk, which I thought was really cool. But, you know, after about 5 minutes, we were ready to leave. So it was too windy to snorkel anyway, which I was not using that snorkel gear. So that's why I was so impressed when I went to Xel-Há. Actually, I went to Xel-Há first, and then it was like a year or two later that I did this. I just assumed it was going to be the same way, but it wasn't quite the same. And another thing is, if you're on a cruise and you stop in Cozumel, the pier is so big that I actually have a picture. I was on the cruise ship behind this ship, and a friend of mine just so happened to be on this ship that I took a picture of at the same time, which was kind of funny. So I took the picture and I sent it to her. So that was her ship in the sunset as we were leaving. But you can see over in the corner here, this is where the pier begins. So imagine behind this is a whole other ginormous cruise ship. It is such a far walk just to get to where you're going to meet up with your tour. So if I was going to Cozumel on a cruise, I actually would not get off the boat. I've heard people say in the Bahamas they don't get off the boat. That's a mistake. I'll tell you where you can go in the Bahamas. But in Cozumel, maybe if you're staying on the island, it's different. But to go for the day and come back, forget it. Just forget it. So Xel-Há, Xcaret, Explore, these are all things you can do during the day. And then Tulum is a nice place that you could see Mayan ruins and a beautiful water up on a cliff. I'll show you a picture of that. It is a little bit of a far drive to get all the way down to Tulum, but it's beautiful. So if I can find this picture. The only thing is it was super hot that day, and you're outside in the sun and you're listening to this guy explain to you about the different ruins. It can be a lot. So I would just do half a day in Tulum and then go back to your resort, because we split it up and we did Tulum and Xel-Há in one day. It was too much. So this is what Tulum looks like. The water's amazing. Really, really nice. And there's a beach down there. If you want, you can go swimming and come back up. It was really beautiful. Another place you could see Mayan ruins is Chichen Itza, which we also did that, but it's a 12-hour tour. 3 hours just to get from Cancun to there. They make it fun. They give you snacks, they tell you stories. And then on the way back, they actually brought us to a cenote, which is an underground lake, which I'll show you a picture that you could swim in if you want to. I did not swim. So this is the cenote, and people were jumping in. There are stairs, which I'll show you here, but for some reason they didn't let you use them. You had to jump in. And then from here, they brought us to like a restaurant in the middle of a random city that was kind of cool because you felt like you were having a real, authentic Mexican experience. And I was a little nervous about the food, but it was totally fine. So that could be a nice tour, but it is a long day. So think about this. Like, if you're gonna go all the way to another country, go through customs, pay all this money, sometimes people have this idea that it's either relaxing or adventurous, and they don't know how to blend the two together. So this is why I say, get a room with a view, have a nice hotel that's not a far walk to get around, go on all of these tours, let them feed you, have a great time, see the people, see the sights, and then you go back to your hotel and you relax. That is how you combine those two things, is you really need to have a nice room and a nice resort. So don't just think, I just want to go on tours and I don't care where I stay. You're probably going to be so exhausted when you are done with this trip that you're going to need another vacation. So make it count. Okay. Next thing. When should you go to Mexico? I would say avoid March and April. Even though spring break is not like it used to be, it's still going on, and most colleges have off in March at some point. And then April, you kind of start running into like the Passover break and the Easter break. If it's combined, forget it. Going away during that week is really, really hard. And the airfare to get to Cancun is not super cheap. So I would recommend getting a credit card that has miles, or try to look for January, February, or even May and June is not so bad. You can fly out of Islip on Southwest Airlines, even though you have to connect in Baltimore, it's really not that bad. JetBlue is pretty good, and Delta. Those are like my top three. If you want to go out of Newark, you might save a little bit of money, maybe on United, but to get to Newark can be a schlep. So depending on where you're at, that's something to consider as well. So one more thing is, when you are in Mexico, they have a little piece of paper that you have to carry with you. It is considered your visa. Most countries, they stamp your passport and you're good. But Mexico has this little piece of paper that you must return when you leave. They will not let you leave the country without this paper, and I had this happen to me. So I didn't know what I did with the paper, because when we checked in, the guy was like so nice and he was like talking to us, and I was like, I love Mexico. Like, I wasn't even thinking I had this paper, and I didn't think that I had to keep it for some reason, even though I probably should have known that because I was there once before, but I forgot. And they wouldn't let me on the plane. And they said the only way you could get another one is you got to pay $30. But I had just given most of my money to the guys that picked us up and drove us to the resort. So I didn't have any cash. I had a little bit left. My ATM card, I don't even know if it works here. So he had to take me out this back exit of the airport. We had to run through the entire airport, which is humongous, to get another one. It was a whole ridiculous thing. And one more thing, one more thing is, when you're making your reservation with the hotel, whether you do it through a third party or not, contact the resort and say, I paid for transportation. If you did, definitely do. Usually they give you that option when you're checking out. Ask them what the details are. So they'll tell you, okay, our people are going to be picking you up and this is what they're going to be wearing. The color of their shirts, maybe it's a lime green or an orange. Sometimes they'll even send you pictures of the people that are going to pick you up, so that when you leave the airport and you go outside, there's a million people standing there with signs. So that's a good way to know who you're looking for. And don't listen to any of the people in the airport, because right away they're going to come up to you and they're going to say, "What's your confirmation number?" And they'll make you think that they're here to pick you up. Or they'll just grab your bag and bring it 20 feet and then they want you to tip them. So it's nothing dangerous when you're in the airport, but just be aware of that, because these people are not there to pick you up. They're there to sell you a timeshare. They're there to sell you a tour or something. So just go straight out, just say no thank you, keep walking and find the people that are picking you up. Can you take a taxi? You can, but I highly recommend just making the reservation, because at least you have somebody to call, like the resort, and it's usually not a lot of money. So I would just book it through whatever resort you're staying at. Whether it's a timeshare or not, they can still arrange it. And so that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed my video. Please like and comment on this video with your thoughts. And if you have any questions about anything I've said, feel free to ask. And so I hope you have a lovely day. I'll see you later. Bye.